welcome back to the channel and welcome to the next part on the e-bike build. We've got three things we're painting today. One of them is a repair, so you'll see a repair going on today as well. So I'll give you a little pan round, show you the products that we're going to use, why we need to use these products for today's video. Let's have a look. First off is the rear hub motor wheel that I painted. This one was done in a previous video, so if you wanted to see how this was painted, it's on the channel, guys. I'll just pop a little icon up in the screen now so you can see which video it is. So this one's the repair. We've got a little scuff here, chip there, and there's one the opposite side. When I was clear coating this, I cleared it, it was hanging up in the studio. Next morning when I came in, one of the ropes that were hanging one side had snapped, it had flipped over and hit the floor. So it had chipped the rim. So that's the repair job. We can do that one later on when we come to clear coat, and I can just jump on that, sort them bits out, scuff the wheel up, and we'll re-clear coat it. The next piece that we're painting is going to be the front wheel today. This is a fat bike rim, so you've got a wide rim there, so it matches in thickness of tyres to the rear that I've got a tyre for that, but you'll see that later on in the videos. So what we've got to do with this one, we're painting all the spokes and we're painting the rim on this today. So we're going to go gloss black on the rim. We're going to put a gold pin line on this rim all the way around to match the front, and we've got a logo to drop on the actual inside of this hub here, so that's to do. We've got a rear mudguard, which is this one here. These would sit, they sort of float on the back wheel, so they sit like that. So some of your modern motorbikes that you see now have these little stubby mud guards that set out the wheel like that, and that just bolts to the frame on this piece like that. So we're painting this one today as well. So the products we're going to need today to do all these pieces, it'll be base coat and clear coat for that one. For this wheel, we're going to be using an etch primer. Now, an etch primer is good for going down to raw steel, aluminium, things like that. So we've got these raw spokes. So once these are keyed up, we'll drop etch primer on all the spokes, inside and outside, all the way around. We've got a Standox plastic primer, and that will be going down on this plastic mudguard first. So we'll key the mudguard up, drop plastic primer on, and that gives it, that will adhere to this plastic, and then you can come off the plastic primer with your base coats or your primers and things like that. Black base coat, 2-to-1 mix with thinners. That's to do the rim, the spokes. We've got the Ford Moondust Silver, again what I used in yesterday's video. We're going to use that on the rear mudguard. Candy Falls Gold by Specialist Paint, so that's for the pin lining on the rear wheel. We've got paint strainers, plastic cups for mixing painting, stirrers, airbrush paints. We've got a titanium white this time, we've got carbon black, we've got an orange oxide, raw umber, sepia, and a jet black. Posca paint pen for doing dot highlights. Pocket Graphics by Scott McKay for the intricate pieces on this today. Texture stencil that we used yesterday to do the rust effects. We're continuing on with that on this. We've got a graphic here to do in the center hub, so that's pre-cut, so we can drop that into the hub here. We've got inch masking tapes. We've got a 3mm fine line, 5mm, and we've got another 3mm one there to do the fine lining around here. We've got some fine lining to do on that as well. Sanding products, 320 discs, soft foam pads, 2 different sorts, grey Scotch-Brite, gloves to keep everything clean. We've got all different sort of carabiners and meat hooks so we can hang everything from the ceiling as we're spraying. Panel wipe, hair dryer to dry in between coats. Mask is a must. Spray guns today, we're using the Iwater air guns at Impact Junior for base coating, plastic primer, clear coating, we're going to be using that. Airbrushes, PS290 for getting a bit of coverage down, spot cap or the fan cap we can need to change on that one, and the airbrushes for a bit of detail work Takumi Eclipse again. We've got the Iwater Revolution, and I can jump onto any of these if I need them along the way. So we've got all the pieces covered, guys. It's nice to have everything that you need set out. It makes your day run a lot smoother. I just hope it'd run a lot quicker, because yesterday's video and editing was 16-hour day in total. Where you see a 30-minute video, that whole day took 16 hours to complete that, and today's going to be another one because we've got more things to paint. So we'll crack on. I will put you in some time lapses along the way. I'll give you some real-time footage. Anything that I'm doing different, I will talk to you along the way. Why I'm doing these certain things, I'll give you some little heads up on why I'm doing different things. You might see some different things, so I'll just give you a little heads up on what I'm doing. But basically, it's similar sort of stuff as yesterday with the forks, similar sort of way. There'll be some different artwork techniques that are going on this, but I'll run through them with you. So yeah, enjoy the video, enjoy the music. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, click that subscribe, press that notification, drop us a thumbs up, guys. It does help the YouTube, and it helps the channel grow, because the more you like, share and give us a thumbs up, the more it comes up in search on YouTube and other people can see a bit of custom painting. So we'll jump onto the prep side of things. I'll see you in the first time lapse. Right, we've got everything prepped, guys. I prepped the damaged wheel as well. You've seen that in the time lapse. We did the rear mudguard, the actual bracket that holds the mudguard, and the front wheel. Now, I went in on the front wheel, 320 disc all the way around on the rim. So went around the edges first, then on the flat spots of the rim. And then to get the spokes, I went in with a soft foam disc, which is about a 320 on that disc. Went across and pinched all the spokes, went around and tidied all them up, done the inside of the hub, scuffed that back, so all this is prepped. Same with this one, went in with a 320 disc, then a soft foam sponge to get in the intricate pieces, sanded all that, and then sanded just in about 1 inch to 2 inches round that lip. This piece you're not going to see because that's near the wheel, but I want the paint to wrap around. It's got something to bond to on this edge here. Same with the metal bar. We've prepped this up with the foam sponge disc, prepped all that, and the bracket. And then the repair wheel, I just went in with a 320 disc on the little bits where it was chipped back, sanded that out by hand, and then Scotch Brite all the rim, all the spokes, all the hub motor, so that's all good to be touched in and clear coated. So the next stage is to clean all this down, blow it all off, and then we can start masking the bits that we need to mask up. So I'll stick you on a time lapse of that. You'll see me clean all this down, mask it up, and then we'll get ready for some paint. See you in a bit. Moving on to the next stage. As you've seen in that time lapse, we've prepped, I've masked everything up, and we're ready to move on to the next stage, which is going to be putting some edge primer down on the wheel. I've got the wheel suspended so we can spin it. I've dropped a paper insert on the inside so we can keep everything clean, so I can just spin the wheel when I'm spraying. And we are aiming to put the edge primer on the spokes. Now, if we get it onto these pieces here on the bottom of the rim, it doesn't matter because we're covering over in a black base coat. We're going to be using the PS290. I've decanted it out of the can into a plastic cup. It's a lot easier than holding an aerosol can because I can get more intricate with the actual PS290 on these spokes, and it saves the paint. And that can of paint's lasted a lot longer than it would doing if you're using it as an aerosol can. We've got the rear wheel prepped. I've dropped the fine line where I need to touch in, and there's little bits around here I can get in with the airbrush and blow them bits in. Masked out the internal, so that's good to go for later on, for touching in when we get to put some black on, and we can put the clear coat on that. So we'll move on to this stage now, drop in a time lapse. We'll get the etch primer on this front wheel. We'll let that one dry, then we can move on to the mudguard. We'll get the plastic primer on that, and then we're ready to start doing some airbrushing. So I'll see you in the next step. Little time lapses, we've got the etch primer down on the spokes, all on these end bits here, all on the nipple parts of the spokes there, a little bit on the rim where it broke through, so all nice coverage on the spokes. That's done, and I've dropped 2 good coats of plastic primer. As you can see, that looks quite silvery. That's the plastic primer on that, and I've gone around the underneath edge. So the next stage on this to do is we're going to start the base coats. We're going silver on this, so these 3 pieces full silver, and then on this rim we're going to go full black. So we'll drop the silver in first, get the silver parts out of the way, clean the gun out, and then we'll drop all the black on this. We'll drop the little bit of black base that we need to go on that, and then that's the black part sorted, and then we can move on to the airbrush side. So I'll see you in the next step. It'll be a little time lapse. We'll be dropping the silver base coat down. We've got the base coat down on the mudguard, the metal bits for the mudguard and the wheel. I'll give you a little pan round. So that's the wheel all based up, all the spokes, both sides, all the rim is done. Let this cure down. The next stage on this will be to put the pin line in. We'll do the pin line, then we'll do some silver, and then we'll put the candy gold pin line in, then drop the logo to the centre. The actual rear mudguard, I think it's one of them, it was from China, so it's one of them plastics. I don't know what plastic it is. When I sanded it back, it felt not like an ABS plastic, so I put the plastic primer on, gave it a couple of coats, and it's not come out great, but I don't mind. As you can see, it's not the greatest of finishes. That should have been plastic primered and then like 2K high build, flatted off if you wanted a really flat finish to work off. But I've just gone straight down with base coat on top of. So it looks a little bit coarse, but we're going to be adding textures, the steel effects, the rust. There's going to be rivets on here. So it'll all sort of blend in, and then we come to clear coat it. Good couple of coats of clear, and then that will level that surface out. Be absolutely fine. It's a mudguard at the end of the day. The metal pieces, they're all done. So a little bit of texture, bit of metal effect on them, that's good to go. So I'm going to let these cure down, dry down. I'm going to grab a coffee. We'll come back and then we'll start fine lining the wheel out, getting that sorted. I've got some black base left, some silver base, a little bit left if I need to use it on any of these, which I will do on the pin line. And yeah, we're moving on to the airbrushing. So it's going okay so far. I'll see you in the next step. Right, we're going to move on to the airbrushing on the silver bits. We'll do the wheel next. So we'll get the steel effect down first now. It's like yesterday. If you didn't see yesterday's video, I'll pop a little icon up in the screen so you can click over and have a look at that one before this one. So we're going to move on to some black. Drop a bit of black. I'm using the Takumi airbrush 20, about 22 psi. Now we're just going to drop a light coat over this. As I said like yesterday, not pretty, you're just dropping the paint on. That'll do for that one. Move on to the bracket. A little bit on that side. So now you're just going to drag the paint off and just put some textures in, like so. So nice and easy to do. You're just creating some textures and try and keep the way you scrape the same way. It just looks a little bit more uniform when you do it. A nice and simple technique, guys. The brush steel, making it look a little bit more older, beaten up. That's the look we're going for on this theme of bike. That'll do for that. So that's the first pass on them. All done. We can now move on to the mudguard piece. So same again on this, just drop, and this is quite grainy, this silver, so this black is really going to grab hold of this. So a nice even coverage on this. This has got like a carbon fibre effect embossed into the top, which I don't like. So we'll really darken this off and we'll get some textures on this and try and bury that. Well, we'll try and give it a little sort of effect on this. It's probably not going to because it's quite grainy. It's not too bad. So a little drag off with the Scotch Brite, keeping it in one direction so it looks a little bit more uniform than going sort of that way, that way. So that's looking more like steel now, that one. Giving it them textures. And as I say, with that grain on the silver, it doesn't matter. You don't see it now. Now it's got this, the airbrush textures on. It just all blends in. Right, so that will do on that one. We can now move on to a bit of colour on the two brackets. Save that drop of black paint. And as you see, I'm not giving the brush a clean through, I'm just blasting out the excess bit of paint and I'm going straight in with the orange oxide, back mix it to get that colour to look a lot more dirtier and dark. Nice and simple. And now we can just add a little bit of colour on the certain welds and things like that. Just hitting the welds on this to make them look rusty. So that's that one, just a little bit of colour on them first passes, mainly on the welds to make them look a bit beaten up. Move on to the bracket, same again. Texture stencil, just drop a little bit on there, a little bit on this one. Right, we'll mix in a little bit of sepia in with this colour. We'll just darken that back in with that. So we just dropped a few textures on that piece, nice and easy. Back in on this one, just darken off a few bits. A few little drag techniques, make it look a bit beaten up. So that's that one, just blending into that. So that'll do for that pass on them ones. We'll move back onto the mudguard, and now we'll start dropping a few textures onto this. Make it look a little bit more beaten up. So we've got the first pass of the colour on there. Just changing it straight away, guys. This will blend in nice to the frame. Dead simple, you just add little bits of colour and just aiming, if you're looking at something old, where all the creases are and the bits, you just start to darken them out and just put darks in to make them look more sunken in. And then your highlights, we can just scratch back and pop the tops of these highlights out, and it'll take it back to the silver in a minute. So just scratch over them, and then that'll just pop all these intricate pieces back up. So you're basically just bouncing across with your shadows and that. Pop your highlights out, pop your shadows in. And just doing it with a bit of paint and a bit of colour. Just want to darken out these textures. So we've got the pass on that. That's looking pretty cool now. Looks a little bit more beaten up. So we're going to let that just dry off for a minute. The next stage on that we're going to do a bit of fine line. Once this is dried down, we're going to do a fine line edge all the way around, and then we're going to drop some rivets in around the edges, though the little piece is riveted on. So that's the next stage on that. This one, drop a little bit more black on some bits. Give this a quick dry down with the hairdryer. If you're drying water-based paints down and you're using a hairdryer, keep it on a cold setting. Don't cook it with heat, because you can dry the surface part of the water-based acrylic and then the underneath can stay. It won't cure. So if you just blast over it with like a cold air and let it cure down all the way through nice and slow, it'll work a lot better, guys. There's nothing worse than having like a surface that feels cured or looks cured and underneath it's not. You come to clear coat it, and then that, not so much solvent, but that water's stuck and trapped in between your clear and your piece of work. So just bear in mind, just dry it down, make sure it's dried off. So we're just going to drop a little bit of fine line. I'm going to come in about that much. All the way around. I've just gone for like an edge around that. And then I'm just going to do some rivets, set some rivets in around the edge. going to do some rivets. I've got the Pocket Graphics by Scott McKay. Really good set. These little miniatures, you get them in a little stainless steel tin, and there's all little intricate shapes. So we've got a little bit of black. I'm going to first go in with black, and I'll just pick one of the holes, one of the random ones that sort of fits. We will drop just a black dot. Just do a few of these round. There's loads of ways you can do rivets. I always tend to do it this way because it looks a little bit more realistic. So I'll first put a black dot down just to show where I'm going. We'll drop one in there. So I'll start off with black dots like that. If that's picking that up, you can see that. We'll give this a little. Then I go back in with a white. And same again, just go over the top now and just in a bit of white. So you're sort of going back over the black dot, but then it's toning it sort of, you're getting like a grey white over it. So now you've got like a white dot over. Just go around again, and now I'm just going to add the white, add it more to the top, and just brighten the top, go around again. And put your highlight, so if you were looking at this, which will be on the bike at the back wheel, drop your next pass of white where you would think it would be positioned on the bike, and as you're looking down to it, put your highlight to the top. A lot of the time it's putting your, when you're doing like textures and things on pieces, it's putting the shadows and the highlights in the right places, because you can think you're doing it right when you've got a panel here, but you've got to imagine that panel put back together as though someone's looking at it, eye view coming down. So the bike will be at a certain level, so as you're looking down at it, I want them highlights to be in the right place so they pop when you look down at the actual piece. Instead of, you could do it and the highlights could be at the bottom, if you completely throw it to the person looking at the actual piece. So this should sit like this on the back. So all my shadows will come down this side underneath on the bottoms as we go along. So I've done the pass of white dots, clean the airbrush, now we're going to drop a little bit of black. And there's still a little bit of white in there, so we're going to make like a grey. That'll do. And now I'm going to go for like the grey to the bottoms. So if this was that way, I'm dropping all the grey to the bottoms of these dots. I'm just going to tone that edge out to where the fine line is, just to separate the two. Now just at the bottoms of the rivet. Right, the next thing to do get the paint pen ready. So we've dropped a little drop shadow on the bottoms of the white dots. And now I'm going to go in and drop it just a jet black dot. Try to the centres of the rivets. So now you're aiming for a black dot in the middle of the white. And now you get your paint pen and you just put a little half moon try to really should have brought my glasses, I can't see. So you aim for a little scallop at the bottom of the black dot, and that makes it look a little bit more realistic. So we'll remove the fine line and watch it pull the paint off, which it is doing. And then this is what you get, you see guys, things go wrong and the fine line pulls the paint. So back in with the airbrush. I did want a separation between the two. So where that fine line's pulled the paint, just dust over with the black, and this will give it the separation between the two pieces and make it look like it's a piece that's riveted on. You can always adapt and make something that looks bad, you think you've messed up, you can soon correct it. Now I'll just do a little bit of a scratch back and bring that bit of that silver back through, just highlight that edge. And some of these edges, just bring them up. So we've got the rivets, the two-tone edge, so that looks like that's a piece that's been riveted on. Textures on here, we're going to highlight some of these. So if this was on the rear like that, you've got your highlights to the bottoms of the rivets. It just makes the rivets pop out. You can put a highlight. I usually get a scalpel and just scratch very fine around the top of the rivet edge, and that defines the edge of the rivet and just makes it pop off a bit more. We're going to do some little scratching into these little textures here, and these will look like they've like gouged into the steel. Grab a scalpel. You're not going to see this. You'd have to be like 3 inches away. Just put a little highlight on the bottoms of all these little bits of black in the textures. I mean, this is overkill really, unless you've got like a camera that's like a microscope. It's only until you go right up close that these will show when it comes to detail. So just some little scratches round the tops of the rivet edge, real sharp ones, and this just makes the top of the rivet pop. So it's giving that little bit of realism to it. So when your eye glances over it, when the whole thing's put back together, there's just them little intricate details that make it stand out. So we've gone for just a little scratch edge along the top of that, so that separates that to that. And then all the bottoms of these little black little dots and holes, just do a little scratch, and that puts a highlight on the tops, which it would be if you were looking at it from when it's on the bike. Them little highlights just make them look like little holes in them black textures. As I say, probably a little bit overkill, but it's them little finishing touches that make something look a little bit more realistic in your pieces of artwork. So nice and easy, and that's aged that really well. So you've got your rivets, your little band going round, your textures in there, your rust bits. Same with this one. So when this is actually on this piece here and that's mounted on the bike, that should look quite cool. So that one's done. Nice and simple, nothing hard. Just drop your colours in, go in with the black over your silver, drag it off with a Scotch-Brite, start adding your orange oxide first pass, just dot it around, start toning it back. Then I mixed a bit of sepia and didn't even clean the brush out, just kept jumping across the colours. Even when it came to the white, I just dropped the white straight in, blasted through the black, dropped the white in because I needed like a grey. Back mix, drop your dots on, do your next pass on the dots for your rivets, and then it's all done, guys. So not long at all. So I'll get this bit cleared up, move this stuff away, and then we'll move on to the wheel. Right guys, we are moving on to the rim. We've got to do a fine line, pin line round this rim edge. Now, we've not got a lot to work with on this. You're probably looking at about 13mm edge on this. So we're going to do a first pass with this one, which is a 3mm. Going to go right up to the edge and try and keep it as nice to this edge as we can, and then we'll go in on the next edge, this edge, and go close to this edge, and that will leave us whatever it leaves us in the centre. So starting off, just work your way around. what I'll do is I'll stick you in a time lapse because I'm going to be here for some time doing this. Well, that was absolute missions to get that fine line down. I've done it a lot easier on the actual hub motor rim, but we've got it done. I've got it all masked up. I'll give you a little pan round. So we have got the fine line pin line in, and I've masked both sides so I can just buzz round with the silver, then drop the candy in. We've got my logo to the centre of the hub in there, masked out in there, and then same again this side, all pin lined out, ready for the silver, and then we can go in with the candy. So that's where we are. I've still got a little touch up to do on that one, but that's just 2 minutes. Little bit of black, I'll do that just before we come to clear coat. So I'll get the next stage will be to get the silver in on the logo, on the pin lines, and then we can drop the Candy Falls gold in. So I'll see you in the next step. We got the silver down, we got the gold down, and then when I demasked it with the 3M fine line that I cannot stand because it is way too sticky, it pulled a little bit of the black just on the edges. So I went back in with the airbrush, bit of the solvent, and just dropped in the black. If I give you a little pan round, this needs a little panel wipe down now because where the silver dusted over, it dried. It's not stuck to it, but it's just little bits of the metal of the metallic dropped onto that. But we've got the nice pin line in all the way round on that, and then you've got my logo to the centre, gold pin line again round, so it's nice and neat. It had pulled a little bit where the fine line pulled, so I've just touched in on a couple of spots on the edge, but that's nice and neat with the gold, candy gold logo in the centre. So that one's ready for clear coat. We'll give that a little blow off, tack rag down, get any mist overspray that's landed on there. Not a problem, come off. We've got that one to just do the touch ups in. Now I've got some black in the airbrush, we'll get that done. We'll get all tidied up. I'll mount the pieces because I've got to mount the hub motor one on these steel brackets because it's stronger. We'll mount this one sort of next to it. Get the other pieces all sort of sorted out, tidy up in here, and we'll get this clear coat done and get these finished, guys. So move on to the next wheel. We are all set up. I gave these a blow off, they're all hanging up. We did the touch up on that, wasn't a lot to do, a little bit near the pin line the opposite side, so that one's all scotched, cleaned down, good to go. That one's been blued down, tack ragged, so all the bits are good. We're going to use the Eye-Water Impact Junior and just do 2 coats on these just to seal the artwork off. So I'll see you at the end for a little pan round. are all done. Been a long day, but we've got it done. I got 2 coats of clear on these. I only got using one time lapse of the clear coat, but it's basically you're seeing the same again, going round, doing the same thing again. So I'll give you a little pan round. I brought the forks in so you can see them, and it's all sort of blending across now. So I'll give you a little pan round to have a look. With the bracket, this was the bracket that we did the textures on and the brushed steel. So that's all nice and glossy, and that one's for the rear mudguard. Moving on to the wheel, we've got the gold pin line in going round, and then you've got my logo to the centre, all the nice black spokes now. So this one will match the back wheel. So that's come out really well, nice and glossy, nice finish on that. Nice candy gold pin line going round, and that one will match this one. So you've got the pin line. This is the one we had to do the little repair on the edge. This is like a flow coat on this one now. So that's had a coat of clear, a couple of coats extra, and that's come out really well. So that's the rear wheel with the hub motor and the airbrushed internals of the hub motor. And then you've got the OZ Racing logo around there and the gold pin line to match the front. That's the other bracket. So it's 2 brackets to hold the mudguard. That one goes to the frame. And then that one bracket I showed you a minute ago, that clips to this one and then goes to the mudguard. You've got the forks put back together. So they're looking all nice now. Now they've got a coat of clear on. And then you've got the rear mudguard. A few little bits are landing in this, but we can nib that out when this is dried down. But it all ties in now. All the themes tying across the whole bike. The both wheels are now matching, which are nice, with the black with the gold. All the brackets, all the frame colours the same. So yeah, a good day guys. It came out well in the end. It was good to get this one finished and refitted, because now I can, once this is dry, I can get the motorbike tyre fitted to this. Then we can get the tyre on this one in the next episode and start getting this sort of built up to a rolling chassis. So yeah, that's all the bits just drying. Leave them overnight, and this one shouldn't fall off because this has got steel rods now holding it up. This is where it was before and it dropped, and that's where it hit the floor. Took a gouge out the floor. So that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's been a really long drawn out one, but we've got these bits done in the end. I hope you can join me in the next one, and it'll be getting these bits all back together. We'll get all the frames, start putting it back together, and it should look really nice once all these pieces go back on. We've got the nice bars to go on, the black bars. It's a lot of black, and then you've got a lot of the steel with the textures. We've got the LED side panel that lights up, and there's going to be some more little trick bits going on this. Once I get the chassis made up, I'm having a custom seat made. I just need to make the frame up, put the tyres on and get the height, see how it sits, and then I can do a mock-up of the seat that I want. I've seen the seat, just need to get a frame fabricated for the seat, but that's going to be at the body shop. So I hope you can join me in the next one, which will be tomorrow. I'm back in the body shop spraying, and then after that will be the rebuild on this. So thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next one.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad. After her there ain't no coming back. Wanna take a run at that. I think she's feeling me, turn it up a few degrees. My imagination of her body gets the best of me. Oh gosh, she's such a tease, bitten lips, bruised knees. I'm addicted to her, need her touching me, cause she got a bad little waist. And we tearing down this place, off the liquor that we chase. Got some egos to the face, baby I don't need no space. Coming closer for a taste, and I'll show you how I make everything just fade away. Cause she's like sex, drugs, cocaine,